Let's talk some toys in here.
What's up, everyone? Today it's the man child. Okay, so we finally got in a new Masters Universe 40th anniversary He-Man, part of the Masterverse line. Yeah, looking really cool. I like the way this He-Man was redesigned. Now, I already did a review on the San Diego Comic-Con 40th anniversary He-Man Skeletor 2-pack. You can go check that video out. I did a lot of comparisons and head swaps and changes, so I'll do that with this He-Man as well, but maybe not everything because I already did it. But I'll do as much as I can. The only thing I didn't do in that video was put him on the Battle Cats because I didn't want to make the video too long. But we'll definitely do it with this He-Man. I have the classics. We got the new Revelation. I'll even do the origins because yeah, they're all big in size. I'm curious what this He-Man will look like on them. But so with the single card, obviously from the San Diego Comic Con, and I'll bring him in, compare him, of course, at He-Man. He looks very much the same. Just some of the skin tone might be different. I'm not sure yet, but obviously the weapons are all plastic, as the San Diego Comic Con was all metal, like die cast. So that's really the only difference that I can see. But I think he's great, and I'm really surprised in the comments with the San Diego Comic Con how many people didn't like the new chest and the buck, even the head. I mean, and a lot of people did. I was really surprised at that. I think it's a lot better than the first designs, and with a lot of Revelation, they just look too small and skinny. They didn't really feel like a vintage inspired Motu figure, like the vintage, the origins, or even the classics did. This is a lot better design, I think. And flipping around to the back of the box, look at that art. Wow, that's He-Man. Check that out. Battle Cat. There's our skeleton. Looks like the 40th anniversary style Skeletor sitting in the background, which I have no doubt, and I mentioned a couple times in the comments when I showed the San Diego Comic Con. You're gonna get a single card release just like He-Man. Of course, it'll come with the plastic weapons. You're not gonna get the comic book, the die-cast weapons, the furry loincloth, which when I bring them, I'll see all that. The big, artistic box it came with, but you're gonna get a single card one. I'm telling you, by next year, I have no doubt. Doesn't make sense not to. Anyway, we got Castle Grayskull in the background. Just gorgeous. Yeah, you got the exploding rocks on the side. And it's cool how collector-friendly these boxes are, and it's amazing how many I just get rid of. I just don't have the room. Like most of my classics I have in cars, people seen in my videos. But I might keep this one. I might put this He-Man back, being I already have two of them once I take him out. But that's really awesome. And another thing that's pretty cool is how this bio is laid out. I'll read it real quick for fun. But 40 years later, Mattel created Masters of the Universe, a world of space and sorcery, of fantasy and technology, and of He-Man, the hero who inspired children to discover the power within themselves. That's really well said. Just connect that nostalgia and inspiration of where this brand came from, back whether it was the vintage toy line or Filmation or where we're at now. That's really cool. And here's a quick look around of our new 40th anniversary He-Man out of box. All right, bringing our new 40th anniversary He-Man in for a closer look. Of course, one of the most important areas is everybody wants to take a look at is that head and head sculpt, right? Because it's supposed to be as close to the vintage figure as possible, but with modern take on it. Yeah, I think it looks great for this, style of Masterverse He-Man. That's what I thought with the San Diego Comic-Con one as well. As far as the articulation, right, back and forth, go forward and back. I'll bring him in closer so you can check out the eyes. Yeah, they're actually, painted in there. We got little pupils. Like the way the eyebrows is done. I like the expression on the face. Not totally closed mouth. It's just enough with the teeth showing. Grins, not too silly, but it's serious enough, but yet compassionate like you would know He-Man would be. I like the way the hair is done on this one. And the paint, it's just like a dark blonde color. Pretty cool. Now, let me bring something in. So I'm going to for a little comparison. So this was a Mundo, the 1/6 scale, 12-inch He-Man, the first release He-Man, and it gave you actually a vintage-inspired head, oversized, that as more of a joke. You could put it on a figure, but kind of see this is where the inspiration come from, or exactly what the vintage was supposed to be a bigger, right? So check that out. Kind of see, so you compare this to that head, and this is way cooler. And I'm going to even bring something else in too. We'll go a little more up to date with the origins. Now this was a Master Universe Origins custom vintage inspired head before we got one in the packs later. Somebody made this on eBay. I think it's even better than the newer Origins vintage inspired heads. But check that out. So again, you can see where the inspiration come from. How much wider this head is, the hair, but I like how this is a little more narrower. Kind of reminds me of classics. Classics seem to do that. would have higher cheekbones, the way the hair was done, of course, pupils in the eyes and the teeth, but yeah, it's a little comparison going there. Now, another thing with this head and face, too, let's focus on the paint for a minute. You can obviously see on the body, which we'll get into, it's yeah, darker tan, has some kind of wash to it, if you can see that. It's almost like a, yeah, brownish, orangish brownish wash. I don't know if it's supposed to be dirty or just, yeah, and from battle, or that's just the way they wanted to, yeah, make this He-Man look. But the head is really, it's more whitish in color. You can see that. It's kind of different from the body. It kind of matches the chest here, but when you get to the abs and the arms and the legs, it looks a little off. But I don't know, again, if that's just supposed to be battle damage or dirt, or, you know, you're out in the sun too long and burn marks on the body and it's just not on the face. That's one thing I noticed with this He-Man. And one last thing while we're still on the subject of the head. So we're going to pop it off. Okay, so that's our ball peg. It's typical, the Revelation style ball peg. And it usually fits the Origins. We'll put this Origin custom head on, which, now this head was always a problem from day one. You had to tape it up, but it does work. So you want to check that out on the body. I'm just kind of fiddling with it. It's kind of what it looks like, and see how you would articulate it, go down and up. It is very loose. Again, it's a defect of the way the head was made, but I'll check that out. It looks like on this body. And also, as far as head swaps, I'm also going to bring in, this was the spare head that came with the Masterverse Viking He-Man, right? So it should fit on that peg. Okay, fits really good, right? A little tight, left, you know, up and down, left to right as far as articulation. But let's check out what that looks like on that body. That looks pretty cool. That's and it actually matches better to skin, because this one too had, like, yeah, sunburn and just a darker tan or something, or wash in there. It actually matches that body much better. And I'm also going to bring in a Classics head. So this was obviously the original. They also made a vintage inspired one, which I actually have on my He-Man. It was a pain in the neck, got on and off, but we'll stick with this style. I like this sculpt too. When the Classics came around, it was unique. It wasn't the vintage inspired like we're getting now, a lot of us like, but it was cool. I don't know how they come up with that idea. It did work well. But let's see. Now this is a lot tanner to head as far as the Classics. The Classics, usually it's a smaller peg, and you got to heat and really force the head on, like this. Okay, so let me put that on. We'll see what that looks like. Okay, and here's a quick look with the Classics head on. It doesn't look bad. It's a little tanner, different as far as the paint, but it does work with this one. I still have a problem. I got to heat it up, but it does spin left to right and go up and down. But yeah, see, this one's difficult on. I don't know if it's a peg on this one, but I'm curious what that looks like. It's kind of our Classics head on that He-Man body. Okay, moving on. Enough head games. So moving on. So again, with our body, we got the typical cross armor. I like the redesign with this, but one thing I didn't care for, like with the San Diego Comic-Con one, I didn't like the way this comes off. We'll take it off in a minute. Just, yeah, we get stuck. Mine would pop. Maybe this one's better. We'll check it out. Let's move on to our arms for a minute. So with our articulate, yeah, got the cool, I love the articulation, the pinless joints in these. Again, Masterverse style biceps. Doesn't look bad on this He-Man, like all the Masterverse or Revelation. When you pull the arm forward, it looks okay, but the bicep always has an undercut. It's different from the Classics, because, and they add this elbow piece. It's just, it gives you better articulation, because otherwise you'd have the arm enclosure, have this giant pin to make the bicep bigger, and I think that's why they went that route. I don't know, but so as far as shoulder up, down, right, the articulation, forward, back, bicep swivel, of course, bring your arm all the way in, pinless joints, got that elbow piece. Now, got the cool little orange bracers, and I don't know, okay, on the hand, so we get a closed gripping hand to hold a weapon. On this side has, let me see, hinge joint. No, these aren't hinged. Yes, they are. These are weird though. It's okay, so it is a hinge joint there. It looks different than typical hinge joints. I don't know. It's almost like it's the other way or something. All right, so it goes up and down, spins. Does it go? Huh, my hand doesn't go in and out. Look at that. Let me pop the hand out for a minute. All right, let's take a closer look at that. It's actually, yeah, it's different. It's backwards. Instead of the hinge being this way, it goes up and down. Instead of in and out. Huh. I wonder if that's to hold a power sword up, like the Filmation. We'll check that out. That's interesting, though. So what, I hands off. Let's check out the bracer. Sometimes these are glued. Sometimes they come off. All right, check that out. This one's not glued, I don't think. It's kind of stuck on. All right. Yeah, it was. Look, I just broke the glue. But so you can remove the bracer even if you got to break the glue without cutting it. If you want it to modify, they want that on. And then you got that. That don't look good, but it's kind of the bracer and the arm without it. So getting back to the hands for a second. Now I just popped the hand off one of the first Revelation He-Man. I'll bring that in for comparison a little bit. But you see what I'm saying? This hinge, the hinge joint, the hand goes in or out, and of course it'll spin inside when it's in the socket. And this one's, yeah, backwards. It's totally different. And maybe we could change his hands out. It looks like the same pegs, but of course this He-Man had more of a yellowish skin, which never made sense to me. This looks better than the new one. Well, for a minute, let's pop this peg and see if it works. Okay, so it does work. All right, spins, and now the hinge joint goes in and out instead of up and down. I'm kind of showing you that and how it works. Huh. All right, so putting our hand and bracer back on. So I guess the more I look at it, the more it makes sense not to drag this out, but to be able to hold that power sword. I mean, if you want the hand in, right, you could just bring it all the way in like so. You can still spin it, but now you have this hinge joint the other way, and the more I look at it, I think that's going to be better than the first release He-Man. You can do more with it. Anyway, so moving on to the other arms, all the same. All right, articulation, but we have the bigger bracer on the side, and this one has a closed, same thing to hold a weapon, but now look at this one. Okay, the hinge joint goes in and out. It's the right way. Oh, that's cool. So you still have that for the axe or sword or shield. All right, and pop this off, and our bracer comes right off, so check that out. Okay, so moving on to our chest and stomach, or the whole buck. As far as the articulation, so we have the ab crunch. This is really cool on this. A lot larger design in the chest, and I like this a lot better than first release Revelation. I really do. I'll compare them, but spin at the waist, as I say, and go forward and back. Let's take the armor off and see what the buck looks like underneath. So to remove the armor, where normally He-Man would have straps you would break. Now see this? It's gonna pop. You can see there's a little piece locks in there where the sword holder is. Kind of comes apart like that, and you're going to slide it around the arm like so, and there's our armored. Here's a quick look with the buck without the armored on, right? Articulation, we already did all that, but yeah, you take a look. I really like that chest design. I like the way the abs are done. Okay, there's the front and there's the back. Yeah, I like just the way the cuts here, where the classics had these big chops to, articulate. I never liked that, but it's pretty cool. You can see, yeah, same thing. It's all tan with that wash. It's all over the place. Abs, the sides, and the back. So moving down to our belt, loincloth here, just a typical, all one piece, it's loincloth soft, there's the front and the back. Yeah, it's like the reddish color, it's got some kind of black wash in there, so that's cool, it's like two-tone, and the belt, it's just one color, I don't know, almost looks like it, on the little jewel pieces, it has metallic highlights, it just could be the way to sculpt that out, lights bouncing off them, but I don't mind, it looks cool, it's not flat, it's kind of in between, so it's neat the way they did that. And moving on to the legs, so articulation go all the way out. It go all the way forward like a front kick. It's got that thigh cut, spins back and forth. Pinless joints at the knees, bend all the way, look at that, all the way back like so. Got the cool big boot, same thing, same wash as the belt, but this seems shinier than the belt to me. Where it's more flat with the black wash. This is shiny with like black wash in it. You can spin at the boot. Boots you can heat them off. They're big pegs and take them off. I'm going to leave them on for now, but I know they didn't come off because I tried it on the other He-Man. And as far as the foot, go down and up, can rock side to side and spin all over the place, kind of like a big hinge joint in there on a rocker. So I think we went over all the typical articulation. I can think of the head, the boots, all the deal. But let's bring in our San Diego Comic-Con 40th anniversary He-Man right here, right? So you can see the difference. Let's see. As far as the head sculpts look the same to me. The paint, the hair, the bodies. Now, this one looks a little bit lighter. It does have the wash, right? If I turn it this way. In my light, anyway. And again, it could be something from the factory, but the armors, they're the same armor. They're definitely different colors. This is a metallic silver, where the cross is a little bit brighter, and this is obviously flat. To really mimic the vintage, because that's how the vintage figures was. Everything was flat gray. Now the belts, look, this is brighter on this figure here. So is the as far as the spray. These look the same. The wrist bracers. Now the loincloths are different, definitely different. Okay, this is flocked, if you didn't know that, where this one's not. This is pretty cool, but you don't need it. And the boots are the same colors almost, but also flocking at the top, where this one doesn't have that. Yeah, but everything aside that, that's the only differences, what you're getting with this figure versus the single card figure. So moving on to his accessories, we get the cool gray vintage inspired battle axe. Looks very reminiscent of what the vintage figure had from I can remember, but more of a modernized sculpt. That's pretty cool. And here's a comparison between our new 40th anniversary plastic axe and, of course, our San Diego Comic-Con metal metallic axe, which is really cool. I mean, that looks like an axe. The only thing with these weapons that I think is a disadvantage is they're very heavy, and the joints fall, at least in my other He-Man, when he tries to hold them up. Where the plastic weapons are, aside the look, more practical, I think. And here's our typical power sword. Comes with the single card He-Man. I love that design. Really cool. All just a gray flat plastic. Again, just going back to the vintage, but new redesign. So that's, yeah, I love the way they did that sword. And of course, here's a comparison with the San Diego Comic-Con sword now. I mean, again, that's a sword. All done in silver like that. That's really awesome over the just gray plastic. This is great for nostalgia, but again, very heavy in hands, and my figure's arms and hands at the wall, it does drop. It's not practical. This is really heavy. So it's the swords together. And of course, we get the typical power shield, flat gray, orange. Again, very reminiscent of the vintage, but redesign. Here's our handles in the back. And here's a quick comparison with the San Diego Comic-Con version. Again, looks like it feels like a real shield, orange, all metal. Handles are all the same, but so it's those shields together. And you also get an open hand for the left side. This is for holding the shield with the hinge joint that goes in and out like so. And then you get a punch and fist for the right side. Also hinge joint goes in and out. And real quick, we'll pull out the left hand on this side. We'll put in the open hand for the shield. All right, like that. And articulation, right? In and out, spin left to right. And this is how this hand, if you're not familiar, would hold the shield. So you would just push the strap through it with the bracer on. Kind of hold it like that. It's our shield. And with the open hand, we'll put the sword in. Now, I'm not going to bother with the punch and fist. I have no need for it. You know how it goes on. I don't ever use it. But let's see how this hand holds the sword. Okay, like that. As far as the back, for a minute before I forget. So the axe, you can force it through there, but it's almost like it's not meant to go in like the vintage figure. So let's pop the sword out of hand, see what that looks like. Yeah, say it's perfect. And that's how the back of the chest harness would hold your sword. Here's a quick look around with our He-Man all weaponed up. Put the axe in hand. Of course, we got our shield and threw the sword in the back. Right, check that out. And of course, now with that right hand with that odd hinge joint, let's see if he can call upon the power like the Filmation shows. And I think I got him somewhat in the right position. Legs are something like this. Hand looks that way. The head can go look up. I don't remember if the sword was turned. Something like this. But it looks pretty good. You can position it. Bend the hand more, turn the head, whatever. But that's probably one of the best He-Mans that's able to pose a sword like that than the classics or any ones we had yet that I can think of. So it works pretty well. So we're getting into little comparisons. Here's our 40th anniversary He-Man next to our first release Revelation He-Man. I had a custom head from eBay, which I've showed a few times now, put on this body, but you can see what those two look like. Yeah, I like this He-Man a lot better. I like the aesthetics. The color's better. I don't care about this yellow. I think the body's too small. The armored, I don't really care for it. I like this armor better. Now, my San Diego Comic-Con review, I did do armored swaps between the classics, the Revelations. I'm not going to get into that in this video. You can go check that video out if you're curious. I believe this one did fit, but it was a little tight. Of course, this one was a lot looser on this body, and same thing with the classics because the buck's bigger. But anyway, it's so it's those two together. Here's a quick comparison between our 40th anniversary and, of course, our Origins, which goes back to the vintage-inspired He-Man, where it all started from with their newer head, the armor, the body. So I thought that'd be cool because this is where it really all started, right? That's what they're trying to get to, or the design, the idea to design for this He-Man. So you can check those two out. And of course, a lot of people like to make comparisons to classics. Classics are one of the favorites, including myself, to a lot of the some O2 collectors. But as far as a classic first release He-Man, with that, first head he came out with, I got a 2000X power sword against our 40th anniversary He-Man. So that's those two together. And while we have the classics out, I decided to remove both armors. Just, again, a comparison between the Bucks, the He-Mans, the size, whatnot. Classics without the armor, so you kind of see what they look like together. You kind of see the redesigns in the chest, right? There's the front. Okay, and it's the back. And also, since we went this far with the classics and the 40th anniversary and armored's off, right? I decided that, so this is the 40th anniversary armored on the classics. Fits pretty good, but it's very loose. You can see that, And we're putting the classics armor on the 40th anniversary He-Man, so it doesn't work. You could pop it over the arms, sort of can, but then you can't get this bar on. Usually the classics connects like this between the two pins, or maybe you can heat and stretch this out or something. But normally it's not going to work. You'd have to really modify it, so I just kind of want to show that. And of course, there's a comparison with our single card 40th anniversary He-Man with our San Diego Comic-Con 40th anniversary Skeletor. So you can kind of see what those two look like together. And Again, down the road, I almost have no doubt you're going to get the Skeletor, but the Ram staff, see the head of his metal. He has a metal sword too he came with. You probably won't get those things. You'll just get old plastic, and I got a feeling exactly what he's going to look like. So, okay, real quick, let's fit our new He-Man on some Battle Cats. So this is our 40th anniversary He-Man on the first release, the Revelations Battle Cat from the show, which that was a cool Battle Cat. I love the size of it, the look, but and the saddle was a little weird. I thought it was too wide. He sits on okay. You can see he sits off. It's just the way the leg design is and the loincloth, but kind of see what he looks like on that. Oh, and I did get the axe in the back. I squeezed it through. It worked okay, but see how it pops the latch. I don't know. It's more for the sword. But anyway, got those guys together. And here's a quick look with our 40th anniversary He-Man on our Classics Battle Cat. He looks great on that. He fits really well, too. Wow. Just kind of those two together. Yeah, I'm liking it. For one last comparison with the cats, we'll throw them on the Origins Battle Cat or the Battle Warriors 2-pack. One that came a little battle damaged up, but yeah, he works on it. You know, it looks a little big, and the Origins was pretty big compared to the Classics. I was surprised at that. It does sit in the seat. It's kind of weird though. Maybe you got to position the loincloth over or under. I don't know, like this, but it works. And this was just a size comparison between the Classics and the Origins Battle Cats. If you want to, they're pretty tall together. It's just this one's wider, a little bigger in the legs, but kind of see why I wanted to try that. Okay, so that wraps up the review on our new 40th anniversary single card He-Man. I think he's awesome. You know, I said that with the San Diego Comic-Con one. And if you didn't get that pack and you want this new He-Man, you like the new buck, the weapons, the armor, the head, it's, you know, this is, now you have one out. I got this at the Pole Mart store. That's where he's still in stock. He's about $49.99, so still a little pricey. You might want to wait for Big Bad Toy Store, but he is available there because people are going to ask me where I got him. You go on eBay, he's a lot more money. Don't wait. I wouldn't do that. But I think he's pretty cool. Fits on Battle Cat good. He looks great, and I got a feeling that the future Masterverse line might start going with these aesthetics down the road with some of the newer, like Skeletor. Maybe we'll get a Merman, a Beastman. I got a feeling that. I don't know, but I think it's cool. I like them. The plastic weapons are neat. You don't need the metal ones. You know, you don't need the furry loincloth. It's good enough. You didn't get the 2-pack. So I hope the answer all your questions. I hope you guys are doing great. And until next time, take care.